1, 2, 3.
Let's stick with the Chaos Nation here. We brought up the Submission Squad. They picked up a big win over the Viking War Party. Some cheap tactics here and there, but surprisingly, there was no outside interference. There was no steel chairs. Just a few eye rakes, a few things like that. But they pick up a big win, something that they did not get last season. And they've skirted around the Cobra Kai Dojo for as long as they can. And now they're playing mind games. You know, Pierre Abernathy comes out, busts a clipboard over Davey Vega's head, busts him open, signs the contract, says it's on, let's do this. So our other major main event of the night, Cobra Kai Dojo, Submission Squad, former members of Team Anarchy together, brothers in arms, traveled across the country for years. This is a big one. I mean, we saw a little bit of blood on Davey Vega at stage 1. I feel like we might see a lot of blood at stage 2.
You see a lot of, I go back to the word intensity because that's what I saw, because if you watch the Reacts promo, Mr. Smiley, happy-go-lucky not Davey Vega, Mat Fitchett was angry in that Reacts video. You don't see that from Mat Fitchett. And I see, it's blood. And same thing with Abernathy. His Reacts, he's very upset. He wants to prove something. He's not where he thought he would be as a wrestler. He wanted more, and now he's wanting to prove that.
Well, and it's been one of those volcanoes that hasn't been a big eruption. This was, I think, the tipping point where you start to see the lava coming out of the smokestack, if you will. But this has been building really since the first stage, and there was jealousy built into how Mat Fitchett performed back in stage 1 and how he contemplated retirement and almost broke up Team Anarchy back in stage 2 last season. And there's professional jealousy there. And those two never got off on the right foot when they got into this organization. And it's certainly shown that, you know, the way that really the Submission Squad ended up costing the Cobra Kai Dojo and Team Anarchy any shot at being in that final championship. And it's kind of boiled over into this season now that they've been dropped, the Cobra Kai, and now that those two are on their own. Boy, it's very personal, this show. And we've had yet to have something this personal. I think you had a lot of team rivalries, but now we're getting to a point where we're starting to blur those borders a little bit, and it's becoming, we're going to get some fights. Let's just put it this way. This stage is going to be a lot of fights.
And it's nice to actually, I mean, last season, there were a lot of no-shows from the Submission Squad. It's nice to actually see them, let's just get this taken care of.
They're so angry that they want to be here.
You know, let's get it taken care of now.
I think something of interest in this match, you brought up lava, volcanoes, a lot of anger, things like that. Ever since Mat Fitchett has come back from his potential retirement, I have sensed in watching the shows a lot of anger, a lot of daredevil. I mean, he's a high flyer, but he's really been putting his body on the line. We've seen him thrown into a wall, choke slam off the top rope, which he's not exactly asking for, but he's been kind of reckless. Perfect word. He's been very reckless, very angry. I don't know if it stems from this issue with the Submission Squad. I don't know if there's some other kind of chip on his shoulder, but he's coming into this with a lot of fury that he'd like to get out.
Well, and he's been at this for a long time. And as with any athlete, you can go any sport. Maybe some of that is resentment at himself. His body doesn't work like it used to. You know, all the times he's been thrown off of a top turnbuckle onto a floor. All the times he's been thrown into a concrete wall. Is that adding up? I don't want to say that he's out of the game because he's shown a lot of fire and he still looks like he's near the top of his game, but you know, in his mind, does he feel like he used to? And that's what, you're on the edge of retirement, and next thing you know, you're thrown back into it, and yeah, you're going to go a little extra, but is he going to go too hard? That's a good question.
There's an element of that, of, you know, his body, but at the same time, he came out and gave a heartfelt speech in front of his hometown. It says, you know, it's time for me to hang it up. And here comes the Submission Squad. Rains on his parade. Him and Davey Vega were in the ring having this great moment of best friends. Here comes the Submission Squad. They're like, you can't retire because you're on Team Anarchy. So I think it was that because it was just he had that moment that was Roman, and that was supposed to be a good moment for him.
He fulfilled his obligations last season. That's interesting to note, too. He fulfilled his contractual obligations, and now he has signed a new contract with the Resurgence. So he made a choice during the off season
Yeah, he knows
to
now.
come back again.
Well, it's the anger. It's the anger.